Sunday morning, heading down Ukaiba Boulevard. I'm on the 749. I'm going to be going up to Oakland Road. I haven't been up there in almost a year on this bike. So I just got this bike back from West Coast Moto, or West Coast GP Moto in Monrovia. They're the ones that put the Zard exhaust on. Pete, one of the mechanics there, the owner slash mechanic, loved this bike and considered it one of his favorites. It wasn't easy. Since we're going to be going up here, short story of why this thing's been gone for almost a year. I will be bagging on some of the California motorcycles at Ducati Dealer in Brea. I took this bike there to get the valves done and the belts for its service, and shortly after I took it there, I got an email from one of their service managers, Nico, and said that the mechanic had done a compression test on the bike. Now granted, I live in San Bernardino in the Ukaiba area. I drove this bike all the way to Brea. I've driven this bike. I was driving a bike up at Laguna Seca around the track, and I never had a problem with power. These bikes never really could do pop a wheelie by themselves unless you really revved it up, and I'm not that big into wheelies on these bikes. So I got the email saying that my rear cylinder had a 0% leak down, and the front one only had 40% compression. He called me and he said it was going to be a very expensive repair, that he could do the valves and the belts and I could take it home. And I'll be honest, I didn't know much about, I don't know that much about motors. I do now, but then I didn't. So I okayed for them to do the repairs. He suggested I needed new pistons, new valves, new everything inside, and even maybe new heads. He found out the heads from Ducati. The heads alone were going to be $4,500. I don't remember if that was a piece or one or a set. But then he knew a friend that could put a coating on the cylinder walls, because the cylinder walls were, he said, were scratched beyond repair. So that was gonna be a lot less money. So I said, let's do it. But I told him, let's put the R pistons, everything the R motor has, to just put it on this. He said they could do it. So it took a while, because during the repair called me and said that someone had damaged something on the motor and that they were going to have to reorder something. I'll look up, I don't remember what it was in the email. And I told them, well, just make it right. So they still kept the bike waiting for parts from Italy, which takes forever. And meanwhile, I ordered a Zard exhaust from Zard itself in Italy. And it took a while to get as well. After the bike being there months and months, there was a second manager that started working there because the first one had quit, and he told me that the bike kept falling on itself. It kept lugging, and they couldn't quite give me the bike just yet because they needed to find out why it was doing that. So again, I waited more months. Finally, the manager said that the bike was ready to get being picked up. So I went over there. The entire bill for the repair, this includes the belts, the valve job. They put a new chain on it. And I had the new brakes put on, new brake pads. Didn't need the brake pads. The brake pads were about halfway done, but I figured it was sitting there, might as well get it done. The entire bill was a little over $6,200. Granted, I paid $5,000 for this bike. But I love this bike, the way it corners. As I said, even the mechanic that fixed it, when he was riding it after he fixed it, he said he took it to the corners and he just loved the way it felt, loved the way it took the corners. So I brought the bike back to the house. Again, I didn't know much about motors, so I proceeded to talk to a couple friends of mine that had bikes and a couple of the mechanics, and I told them the story. They told me if this bike had 0% leak down on the rear cylinder and only 40% on the front, there's no way I could have ridden it from San Bernardino in the Caipa area all the way to Brea. It just wouldn't have ran. It wouldn't have been running right at all. So in saying that, I talked to a few more mechanics, they're saying the same thing. One of them even said that they probably had damaged the bike while they were working on it, and instead of them paying for it, they had me pay for it. I told them, well, you know, funny you should say that, because as it was being repaired, they told me that something happened where they had to reorder parts because they had damaged the part. So I took the bike back and I told them, this thing is still falling on its face when you gun it, when you give it the throttle. It's not the way it used to be. I need it fixed. They now have a third sales manager. I forget what his name was. I got Mike involved. The owner, or I'm sorry, Tom Hicks involved, and we had a face-to-face meeting. I had my exhaust and I said, I need this thing fixed, and I'd like to get the exhaust put on. So he told me that they would put the exhaust on for half of what it costs, and that they would fix the bike. So I left it there, and they tried to put the exhaust on, and unfortunately the exhaust that was sent to me was not the exhaust for this bike. But they tried for a couple of months. I talked to Zard. Zard unequivocally said, this is the exhaust for your bike. The mechanics just don't know what they're doing. I'm going to turn around right here. And considering what had happened with the bike and the motor, I thought maybe they just don't know what they're doing. But they were not very nice at Brea. Zard wanted pictures or wanted to see how they were doing it. They were rather like they didn't want to do anything more on the bike, which got me a little upset. I'm stopping here for a second just to get a little breather. So, that being said, I went back there and got the bike, and I called a few places. I wanted someone that was competent in working on these bikes to see if it was the exhaust or see what was going on, because it was still falling on its face. They hadn't addressed that issue. Found these guys, two brothers that they used to, and they still do once in a while. They have Ducatis, and they used to race the 749s. Apparently, right now they have an 848 that they race. And they took it upon themselves to put the exhaust on. So I took the bike there, no fairings, just it was almost naked. And they got in contact with Zard. They were emailing each other one-on-one, as I thought that the dealer would have done. And that was my brother. They actually took photos, they took videos, labeled everything, and Zard said, send it back. We'll actually pick it up, no cost. They went ahead and told me if we could find a 749 over there in Italy, that they would try to put it on there. If it doesn't fit, they would give my money back. I told them I didn't want my money back. I wanted the exhaust. I like the way this exhaust sounds. So they found out that they had made a mistake and sent the wrong exhaust. They didn't give me any discount. I asked them for a few shirts, they sent me one, which I'm still talking with them, seeing if they could do a little more. Don't get me wrong, I love this exhaust. This exhaust is amazing. The power is just amazing compared to what it was. They sent back the exhaust to West Coast GP Moto. They put it on. They put some radiator hoses on. They tuned it up for me. Did a little more little knick-knack things around it. Buttoned it all up. that bill was about $1,300, which I thought was fair, considering they put the shorty levers on, they put the hoses on, and I forget what else they did. They did a few other things. So that's why this bike's been gone for that long. That it's back and it's better than ever. It's 9,373 miles on a 2005 749 with a R parts in the motor. So it's not a 749R, but the motor has everything the 749R would have. So the power is about right there where 749R would be. Still not done with this bike. I'm thinking of putting a little bit of carbon fiber on it and some I'm gonna turn around right here. Just a few things that I want to put on here. I want to dress up the clutch. The clutch is the standard clutch, even though I have the open basket. It's kind of gray and dull looking. I already have a little bit of gold on here, so I'm looking for a gold clutch to put on it, or a gold accented clutch. This is Oakland. I love coming up here. Great road, as long as it's not apple season. Not a lot of people know about this road up here, which is kind of nice right now. I know a few people that can't stand this road. It's not an even road. There are bumps. There are bad areas on this road. Double apex, and we're going to come up to one where a couple of guys, don't know if they weren't familiar with this road, but they actually went off the side, and one or two of them died on sport bikes. That's the story about the 749. She's back. I've dropped quite a bit of money into her. I don't regret it. It's, you know, I love this bike. I don't ever intend to sell it. I like I love my S4 RS as well, but it's a different bike. It's for different reasons. That's more of a cruiser. This is more for canyon. Eventually this will probably become my track bike. Another quick story on the since the battery was out for so long, the digital display was in kilometers, so I had to figure out how to put it back. That took a little while looking at YouTube to figure out how to do it. So if you're ever interested in a nice Canyon carbon bike, 749 is a really good pick. I could probably get dusted by the newer 600s, but the chassis on this bike, this chassis itself in the 999 version won more championships than any other chassis that Ducati's made recently. It's longer, lower. It's just an amazing bike to take on curves. Actually makes you look better than you really are. The mirrors aren't so bad. Drop my elbow in a little bit, I can see back there. The grips I am going to change. They're just a little skinny. I've gotten used to the ones on the Monster where they're a little thicker, a little more control. And the seat cover is going to change. now that it has all this power, when I get on the throttle, I'll slide on this seat. I'll slide towards the back. There is a stop back there, but there's quite a bit of distance there before I get there. So I think I'm just going to get a aftermarket seat cover. Usually it doesn't go this way. There's usually nobody up here right now. It's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. There's a sinkhole. This sinkhole was here last year. These people must all be together. With 749 back, I'll be able to put more stuff on YouTube. Plus the rain is gone. It's supposed to get rain again on Monday. But at least for the weekend, it's pretty dry. I love those pops. Standard 749 has about 108 to 110 with the R components on the motor and with the exhaust. I'm thinking she's pushing in the high 130s or the low 140s. S4RS still has way more power, and that is a wheelie machine. It's shorter, just the chassis is so much different. I'm not afraid to do wheelies on that one. This one is just so long I wouldn't want to hurt it. Either the shocks or the frame. There's so much weight on this front tire compared to the Monster. Out here, you got to be careful on these turns. The fireflies, they seem to somewhat disappear some around the boatload of butterflies out here.